He wanted to eat her so he could absorb her energy, and even after all the evidence, he was never found guilty of it. When he was younger, he tried breaking into an apartment complex to consume another woman. Well, he ended up taking a chunk out of her buttocks, but she thought he was there to rape him. He gets accused of attempted rape, and because of his family's wealth and the attorney that they had, he got off by paying off that lady. So years later, he's in poetry class with a woman in France, and he invites her over to study poetry together. Renee comes over to study poetry, and while she's sitting there in the chair, he comes behind her and shoots her in the neck. And at that point, he begins to cut her up and consume her over the course of 3 days until her body is too decomposed, the meat is tarnished. He puts the rest of her remains inside of 2 suitcases and takes her down to a lake where he's stopped by authorities and caught with her body inside of the suitcases, and he's then sent to trial. While there, the judge declares him as legally insane and sentences him to a life in an insane asylum. While he's there, an author comes along and does an interview with him and subsequently writes a book about the interview with a cannibal. This leads to too much press for the French police, and they send him off to Japan to serve out the remainder of his sentence there. Well, while he's at the insane asylum in Japan, they deem that he's not insane. So without the charges from France, he's let free. Now this guy is a murderer. It's obvious. He's a cannibal at the same time, and he's completely set free to roam Japan. So there's a huge uproar amongst people, but there's nothing they can do about it. There's no charges that can be made. And if anything, they say that the worst thing he can be charged for is having a sex addiction. And that was just based on his own psychosis problem. So he ends up living out the rest of his life until he dies at 73 of pneumonia in Japan, having murdered somebody and tried to eat them.